Welcome back to Beyond the Mark, the podcast where we uncover stories behind standout businesses and the people who built them from the ground up. In this episode, we sit down with Avery Huckaby, the founder of Refreshing Health Cleaning Solutions, a guy who turned furlough into fuel. What started with a YouTube video during the pandemic has grown into a trusted cleaning brand that serves homes and businesses across Michigan. Avery shares the real hustle behind his journey, the chemistry of clean, and how he's turning floors and relationships into long-term success. Let's dive in. What got you started into carpet cleaning?
So I started my company, Refreshing Health Cleaning Solutions, coming up on 6 years. During that time, when I first started the business or my company, I had been furloughed from my previous job during the pandemic, and they basically said, "Hey, go home. We'll call you back when we want you to come back." More people back into the office, and so during that time, after the first week, I was like, "Okay, well." What do I want to do with the rest of my life? I feel like that was a good time to make some decisions. And so I was either going to continue to work at my previous employer full time, build a career off of that, or start my own company. And so I started looking into different things that I could pick up fairly quickly and not necessarily need a lot of education, certain degrees, things like that. And so I started looking into more trades. And so, okay, so what can I do that I can pick up on and gain as much knowledge as I can right now and just continue to keep gaining knowledge while still getting work? And so, started looking into first, I was thinking about plumbing and electrician, but I was like, okay, well, yeah, you definitely need some classroom and on-job training before you even get started with, thinking about going into the people's homes and things like that. And so I was like, okay, well, what else can I do? And just happened I was on YouTube and ran across a carpet cleaning video, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And so what really attracted to that to me was the before and after. You can have situations completely, almost like a lost cause and turn it around to really help that person and have a better environment. So the more and more I start to look into it and research it more, I was like, okay, well, this is something that I can do. It's, you can do it on a residential level, commercial level, any way, shape, or form, there's going to be a situation that can also always be improved when it comes to even carpet cleaning or tile and grout cleaning, even furniture, upholstery. And so after going back to work, I was like, okay, well, my heart's really set on trying to continue on with the company, and building it. And so I continue to, keep working because I still financially needed to support myself and pay bills. And so, essentially I was working the previous job. And then as soon as I was clocked out, I was on to my company, doing whatever I could to gain business, get phone calls, meet people, shake hands basically. And so, I continued on with that for a couple more months, probably about 6 to 8 months. And then one day I was just like, okay, I'm done. And just, you know, I, I don't, if that's one thing I could take back is that I should have left on good terms. But when something is, in your heart and you have passion for it, it just literally, I just woke up one day. I was like, okay, I'm done.
Hmm.
And so, I turned in all my equipment and everything and said, it was great knowing you guys, but I have something I got to do. And so, ever since then, it's just been a grind. The normal 40-hour work week now turns into 80. and 100 and 120. But that's okay because I know what I want to do in my mind and, kind of go from there, build a legacy. It's a great life. I like the life of an entrepreneur, just building a business, building a company from the ground up, literally from the ground up, and just setting goals and planning on how to achieve those goals is what's driving me. So onward and upward.
So, why is working so much more than you used to work at your other job? Why is that so much better?
Because because it's you. It's you building what you have in your mind. You're building a vision. You're building a dream. You're building a life that was not there before. And so once you set your mind on wanting to do that, then you're tired. You're tired after 8 hours. That tired doesn't matter because you don't really see it as tired. You're just seeing it as, okay, well, I got this, this, and this done as a task. Well, what else can I get started on to set me up for the next day? Or what can I get started on that would uh help lead to a new meeting or a new handshake next week, And so it's just that drive of wanting to achieve, kind of mark things off the list, I guess to say. And once you start marking things off the list and starting to see how much you've progressed from where you've come from to where you are now, to where you can be.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Can you tell me something or share something that was memorable from the early days when you started?
Oh man, I remember my first job, to be honest with you. I had kind of just started like literally maybe like a month and a half into actually creating the business. I think I had just gotten, my official paperwork in the mail saying, "Hey, you're officially a company." And I remember getting my first call, and it was a um, elderly woman who wanted to get her carpet cleaned, and I was like, "Okay, sure." I remember showing up to the job, and I had the van, all the equipment, I had all my gear on and everything, and I kind of looked in my van. I was like, "Wait, how am I gonna get all this stuff up there?" She lived in a high rise, and I didn't think about, oh, I'm gonna need something to put all my equipment on. Yeah, I got all this equipment, but how am I gonna get it up there? And so I was like, oh, should I need some type of cart or something? And I just remember just going back and forth. I think I made like 3 trips back and forth
Mm.
to get the equipment out of the van, everything that I needed. I was able to get the job done. Everything turned out great. It's just the little small things. And as the more and more jobs started to come in, little tweaks that you have to make in order for it to be easier for you. None of the jobs were like bad or anything. It was just things on my end that I had to kind of tweak just so I could have an easier kind of way of getting equipment up and up to the home or into the home or what I don't necessarily need, but it's taking up space in the van and things like that. So uh, just building and just learning, talking to people, talking to other, cleaners who have similar, kind of services. And that was another thing that I definitely learned. It's better to be a team, it's better to work as a team versus as a competitor. There's a lot more, there's people who've been doing this for, in this profession for 15, 20 plus years. And so they've grown with the equipment and the technology and things like that. And so just being able to call them and say, "Hey, what do you do in this situation?" Or how do you go about getting in front of, somebody who's making, the financial decision, especially for, properties and things like that. How do you go about doing that? Just having that connection is great. because it's pretty lonely if you're trying to figure it out on your own, like strictly on your own. So it's better to work as a team than as an individual. So yeah.
That's an interesting perspective, especially from somebody who's starting a business, not thinking of these guys who've been there as competition, but more of somebody that can be a resource.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, how long after you started your business did you feel like I can do the jobs comfortably? I have the things that I need, uh, the carts and the. How long did that take?
To be honest with you, it didn't take that long. I would say after that first job, probably it only took a few more jobs after that before you start really gaining that confidence because it's the knowledge behind how to get a result. You can get the best result out of whatever situation that you're in. And so once you have that knowledge and you apply that to getting that result, then it's easy. It's easy to not only do the job, but also talk to the client as well. And say, hey, this is our process. We're going to start with this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And we're going to do this. And then we're going to wait and then we're going to do this as a final step. And so once they know that as as the client, then they're like, okay, well, that sounds like exactly what needs to be done, or it's a game plan. They like to hear the game plan versus, well, I could just come in and do this and, hope for the best. I let them know beforehand, we start with this, then we do this, then we do this. Typically it's a 5, 6, 7, 8, step process depending on the situation. And so I let them know that. And, I kind of give them a time frame on how long it's going to take. I give them, tips on how to retain that result after we're finished. And so it's better for the client in the end. And so when you come to the door with that knowledge and be able to provide that, they're more willing to be like, oh yeah, this guy knows what he's doing, and they'll be willing to call you back. And then on top of that, refer you to somebody else. And so that's the name of the game.
Mm. What did you not realize about the carpet cleaning business when you were watching the YouTube videos that you learned when you started actually doing it?
One thing I didn't realize.
So, when you did your first job,
Mhm.
how long did that take you? And then that same job, how long would it take you today?
Oh man, is time is so that first job with taking bringing in all the equipment that took good 20-25 minutes. And then the actual setup and then the actual get started. I think I didn't get started until at least 45 minutes into the actual appointment. And then the job itself, that seemed like that took longer because I was just doing extra steps that I really didn't need to. As far as I was like kind of doubling up on steps. So at my first job, I used a kind of a buffer to agitate the carpet fibers so it can get as clean as possible. And then I came through with another tool to do the extraction of kind of the dirt or the soil out of the actual carpet. I could have used a buffer that doubles as an extraction tool to clean it and also agitate at the same time. So I was doing double the work. So that first job, I think it took me probably like 2.5 hours. It shouldn't have took that long because it wasn't even that large of a space. Now, tops, hour,
In and
tops,
out in an hour?
tops. Yeah. Because once you do it so many times, you start to refine it, but then you're making sure that you're going to get the best results, but you start to understand what works the best. And so, even the tools that I have now are more versatile, where it doubles as different things, different tools. So one tool can do 2 to 3 things versus one. So you start to kind of refine your tools, your methods as time goes on.
There's a woman I know who wakes up every day with one mission: help people who don't know how to escape. She's the president of Sparrow Freedom Project, and she lives and breathes this work. I've heard the stories of survival, pain, unimaginable strength. They'll break your heart and stay with you for weeks. This is not just an organization, it's a lifeline. Sparrow Freedom Project fights human trafficking and supports survivors right here in our community. They need our help. If you're listening and wondering what you can do, it's simple. Make a donation today. Donate now at sparrowfreedomproject.org/donate. It matters. She's given up so much to help others. Let's give something back. Throughout the last 6 years, what would you say is the biggest challenge that you faced?
I think one of the biggest challenges is just being able to um, really just have the clients understand that um, it's not just a one and done. Once you get something like our services done in your home or in your place of work, um, you have to maintain that in order to keep up that level of cleanliness. So, one thing that I always let our clients know is that, hey, we got this done today. I can give you a call in about 6 months, 6 to 8 months on to get a refresher done. But in the meantime, this is how to maintain what we did today. Oh, that's okay. Well, we'll just give you a call in about a year or so. Okay, well, you sure I can, set up just a reminder just to give you guys a, quick call or shoot you an email? No, it's okay. Real take care of it. Okay, no problem. So it's fine. It's perfectly fine. As long as I set them up with how to maintain it, that's just half the battle. And then they decide to go ahead and give me a call even a year later. I'm still happy to take their call. Still happy to come out and, reintroduce myself and see how things are going and kind of just going from there. So, yeah.
Does anybody ask you, why should I choose you? This other guy gave me similar quote or less quote or so how do you answer that?
So at the end of the day, our services, as far as the result, it doesn't matter. A lot of times with our clients, they just want the result. They don't necessarily want, the process of how you got there or what you do or anything like that. They just want the result. And so that's hard to overcome. But the way I do overcome is I treat every situation like this is needs to be like a college course or something. Here's the first step to redo. This is the next step. I give them a brochure. I give them before and after pictures of previous jobs that are similar to theirs. And so when you start to go above and beyond, that lets the client know, like, hey, this guy is trying to show us something that we're going to get, or we're going to get the best results based off of what we see, what he's done with previous jobs. And so there's a lot of talking beforehand, a lot of like history as far as what they've done previously. And then on top of that, with me giving them information on how to maintain it, that's when they're like, oh, okay, well, I really like this guy because he's not just trying to come in and get the check and be out the door. He's trying to almost become a part of the maintenance, trying to become part of the life of whatever we're trying to get done. So yeah,
That's real nice. That's beautiful. They learn that you're more interested in the job itself being done the right way
right.
rather than just
Let's
collecting.
let's get the money and be out the door. Yeah.
Thinking about that, like what would you say is the most effective method for getting more business, getting referrals, or just like marketing maybe in general? Like what's been the most effective thing for you?
For me, mouth word of mouth is huge. It really is. And, it could either make you or break you. I know a lot of people say, you know, you got to be on Google, you got to be on Facebook, you got to be on Instagram. Especially for my line of work, people want to see the before and after. That's what catches their eye. But being able to shake someone's hand and uh, having them be referred, having yourself be referred to somebody else, that word of mouth is I think is a lot bigger than just being on the internet, being on social media. Me personally, that's been a huge part of my company. A lot of times by the time for me, at the time that I'm talking to someone, they're telling you more than they think that they're what they're saying. They're going into, um, "Oh, I used to do this for a living," or "I knew a guy who had a truck like yours," "I used to live next to a neighbor who did this," and, like you said, they give you more information than they think they are, and so you start to retain that information and kinda segue into, "Oh, okay. Well, how's that guy doing? Or how's that person doing? How did their business turn out?" And um, it turns into, I can introduce you if you like. Sure, that'd be awesome. Or I can. What's your phone number so I can, text both of you so you can be on the chain, so get an introduction. And so a lot of times that does happen, and I'd love to gain that knowledge. Knowledge is power. It really is. Even if it's one thing that I get out of that, it could be something small for, how to grow the business. Hey, that's something that I didn't know before that I can implement into my own company. So, word of mouth, it definitely is huge. It's huge.
Wow. So what's been the challenge on the internet?
Just being able to keep up with everything. Technology is forever changing. Today's technology will not be the same next year or 5, 6 months from now, especially with uh, a lot of it being AI. It's done for you. You can literally say one sentence and you can get a whole 5-page essay off of that one sentence, if you put it through the AI system. And so just being able to keep up with that, and social media yeah, that's a job within itself, to be honest with you. Content creation. Like I said, for me, it's a lot of before and after, but you show the before and after, but how did you get there? People do want to see what kind of tools did you use? What kind of, solutions did you use? Are you using harsh chemical, or are you using something that's kid and pet friendly? And so people like to see that. And so once you start to show that, but all that takes time because you have to cut and paste and split, and especially for video, it's not a 5-minute job. You gotta, especially if you want quality, and that takes time, and on top of that it takes experience too. So uh me personally, I don't necessarily have a lot of time for it, so I'm reaching out to someone who can do it, and kind of hiring them to get that.
Can you remember a time when you did a job and that person wasn't there watching the job that you and they came back later and saw how the job went? Has that happened in the past?
So as far as well, yeah. So a lot of my jobs, they are not quick. So I'm not just in and out. I would say the average time now for my jobs, because they have gone from like one bedroom or a living room to 4 or 5 bedrooms and a large living room, or even commercial. And even on top of that, it's expanded to other services where we're doing a lot of natural stone polishing. So that's flooring and countertops, a lot of granite countertops. And so things like that, that takes time. And so a lot of times they just open up the door and they go off to another room and, work, or they just give you the keys and say, just lock up behind you. And so, um, 9 times out of 10, now it's more of, here's the keys. Just give us a call when you're finished, which is perfectly fine with us because we're in there to do a job and nothing else. And so, even while we're there, we're, updating the client. Hey, we're such and such finished. Here's a picture of our progress thus far. And then even if they're not able to come back that same day, still send that information to them. Hey, we just finished up. Here is a completed, photo of the work we did. Turn off all the lights, close the blinds, make sure there's no water on, things like that. Is there anything you want us to do before we leave? And they're like, no, thank you. We appreciate you. Payment's already sent. Great. Thank you for your time. Thank you for choosing us.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like for your business specifically, before and after reactions would tremendously help for you to have.
On the one hand, you want to capture that because especially, you know, they know what it looks like before and then they walk into the room after you're finished. You want to catch that initial like, wow,
Yeah.
I've had so many times of people saying, wow, like it's just like, dang, I should have recorded that.
Yeah.
And that alone is like the greatest feeling, to be honest with you, because if they're able to come back and see the work, then it's just like great. It's job well done. You just kind of pat yourself on the shoulder, and then, but to be able to capture that, that will be huge. But I mean, like I said, it's kind of 50-50. Some people would be okay with it, but yeah, some people just don't want to be on camera.
Mm.
They don't know, even though it's exactly for what it is, redid something that you wanted and, you love the result. Still, people don't necessarily want to be on camera just because, I don't know, like a camera is a thing now, I guess to say.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah. It's, the thing is that a lot of people just don't understand that it's,
Back to that. So what's the like most common reason that new people reach out to you?
so a lot of times is like I was saying, it's word of mouth. They heard about our services from someone, or they gotten our number from someone that we had already serviced previously, and basically they want to get the same thing. So we get a lot of those, and then a lot of times people will say, "Hey, we saw you on Google. We saw you. Typed in." Carpet cleaning or, tile and grout cleaning, near me. And so, we service Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties. And so, as long as we are in that listing, people will call. I feel like a lot of people want to kind of go with the local service providers versus, the national name brand. There's nothing wrong with it as far as, the Hagopians and the Stanley Steamers. They rather go with someone, locals support small business. And so we like that aspect of it because, they'll become more loyal. You get more of a personal experience. Because the thing is that with those companies, a lot of times they may send out somebody, but then you might not see that person again if you were to call them back in, a couple months or what may have you. It might be somebody completely different, but you had a great experience with that one. But now the next person that comes up might not have a great experience. So that starts to kind of uh, tarnish that actual relationship. But at least with us, um, I want to be there. Rather, it's in some way, shape, or form. I want to be on site and saying, "Hey, we're gonna get this done." My guys get to work. Keep you updated, let you know when we're finished, and go from there. So yeah,
Yeah, sounds like a customer would be really they would want to call you back. I think they'd be more likely to call you back if
yeah,
they knew it was you,
more
like, coming
inclined.
back to the job. I
Absolutely,
can definitely see that.
absolutely. That goes a long way. It really does because you see the person once, now you're seeing the person again. You're seeing the person a third time. That starts to really build a relationship versus it's a different guy or a different person every single time they come out, and the quality might not actually be the same. The first person might do the detail work, might really get the job done, but then the next person is like, it's 85%, but then that next person might be 65% of what the first person did. So now, like I said, over time, it starts to almost like tarnish the relationship because it's varying degrees of uh, worksmanships.
Sure. Are there any myths to carpet cleaning that, I mean, you believed once and you want to debunk them now? Like something that everybody, thinks is, oh, yeah, this carpet cleaner you can go rent at Home Depot, and these are the solutions for every home.
uh,
Anything.
you're exactly right. The solutions, it's not I guess to say a one size fits all.
Mm.
There's a solution for everything. Every situation has a different solution. So, if you go to Home Depot and rent their machine and think that you can do it, well, yeah, sure, follow the directions, but you have to understand, a lot of times you know, it's not being done on a professional level. You don't know what the cleanliness of that machine is that you're renting. You don't know who the last person is that rented the machine or what situation they were cleaning up. And now that situation might have leftover things that are now in your home. And you don't want that. You want to make sure that it's being done right. And then on top of that, a lot of the solutions that are out there is, like I said, is just an all in one. Well, an all in one isn't necessarily the greatest thing because first of all, how strong is it? Is it supposed to be diluted? And then what type of residue is it leaving behind? It's one thing to clean it, but if you're leaving residue behind, now that's attracting more soil to that particular area, so it's going to get dirty that much faster. And so, one important thing that we make sure is to make sure we get all the residue out from any of our cleaning products, and so that's going to keep your area cleaner that much longer because now the soil, the dirt, doesn't have anything to cling to. So if it can't cling to anything that's there, it's gonna be that much harder for it to, kinda build back up again.
I mean, that's one thing I thought of when you were talking about some of the bigger names that might be out there doing carpet cleaning, and they send you somebody who's, maybe been there for like 3 months or 5 months or
Mhm,
whatever it is, even 1 year. When they're calling a company whose people have had like lots of experience and they come up to the job and they know what they're looking at and what the solution might be that
mhm,
might be a little bit nuanced in
mhm.
this situation, you're not going to get that from like the bigger names,
No.
right? Because those people are going to be in and out of
Right,
that place,
right, right. So a lot of times, like I said, with the bigger, time is money, and,
right?
unfortunately, that's not a good thing for our line of business because if you're just trying to be in and out because you got 3 other jobs that you have to get to and you don't wanna be out all night long, you know, it's it's really easy for that to turn into cutting corners. You don't wanna cut corners because now you either have a callback for something that's popping back up that should not pop back up, or just, the client isn't happy, it looks like, it's okay, but it's not great.
Yeah, I mean, even we're thinking about training,
Mm,
and if you're a large company and you want to train like a lot of people because you have a
mhm.
high turnover or whatever, you're going to come up with like a blanket solution. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
You're right. And that's why we have for any type of situation, we have about 6 different solutions because not every surface is the same. For example, carpet. Carpet can be multiple different type of fibers. It can be a natural fiber. It can be a synthetic fiber. Well, within that synthetic fiber, it could be 3 subcategories of is it olefin? Is it, commercial glue down? Is it, polyester? The list goes on. But then on the other hand, if it's a natural, okay, well, is it wool? Is it some type of it's called rayon, things like that start to come into play because there are certain ways that you have to clean it. And then on top of that, there's certain ways that you have to get it dry. And the thing is, too, there's certain things you can't get wet because if you get it wet, now it's going to smell like a wet dog, and that's a bad thing. And so if you just go in, oh, I'll just use this one solution and it should be okay. Well, now the whole place smells like a wet dog. Now you're really into some trouble then. So, just having that knowledge of what you're doing is going to really set you apart, um, because you're gonna know what you're doing as soon as you walk through the door, and not have to worry about, oh, I got to call back, and they're really upset, and what am I gonna do to fix it above and beyond, just so that that client doesn't go on Google, leave you a 1-star review. Now everybody sees that, and so that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, that's one thing I've learned about your business since I've gotten to know you. All the different solutions that you have for all the different problems. It's like, man, that makes a lot of sense when I see it, and I'm like, I never knew all of this. Like that's,
Yeah, yeah. It,
and
it
I don't want to. I'll leave it to you.
it's definitely it's chemistry involved with it. You have to know the pH scale. What side of the pH scale do you need to clean on? Is on the acidic side? Is it on the alkaline side? Well, how I'm going to once I get it cleaned, well, I need to get it back to neutral 7, as close as possible, just until either next time I come in or what may have you. If you leave it too far on the acidic side or on the alkaline side, now you're damaging the surface more than you're helping it. So, uh, and that's all information that you have to know. You have to know.
I have a hard enough time balancing that for myself, let alone my carpet and my surfaces that, you know.
Absolutely.
What's next? What's next for Refreshing Health Solutions?
Well, what we want to do is we want to continue to keep growing, of course. Keep growing the business. My 5-year plan, looking to expand, kind of get more into, since starting the company, I started with carpet cleaning, tile and grout, and upholstery, which is fine. That's an area that I will continue to get business in. Moving forward, I want to get into more concrete polishing, natural stone polishing, and then eventually, even down the line, laying epoxy. I think that's going to be huge moving forward. I feel like carpet's always going to be there, but it's going to start to phase out. You know, People who are especially doing remodels, fresh new builds, residential or even commercial, they want to look for a solution that's going to last longer, or last the longest. So between you know, tile and grout, laminate flooring, concrete, those hard surfaces, that's going to last 10, 15, 20 plus years. They're going to be willing to do that versus, oh, let's go ahead and start laying carpet because carpet is expensive and then and it's expensive to maintain. And then let alone if you don't maintain it and keep up with it, well, we got to replace the carpet. Well, that's another whatever how much the amount is to replace all of this carpet. And so, just moving with the times. So I think the especially concrete polishing, that's going to be huge in more of the commercial space, but people are going to be looking to get that done. It's a natural look. It looks really good when it's, really well maintained. And plus it's, you like to see those little granules and speckles in the actual concrete. It's more of a natural look. So yeah.
How do people find you?
Google, Facebook, Instagram, Refreshing Health Clean Solutions. You can actually just type in Refreshing Health, and my information will pop up, or Refreshing Health and whatever service. So Refreshing Health carpet cleaning, Refreshing Health tile and grout. Our information will pop up. Phone is always on.
If you can't find them, reach out to me and we'll get you guys connected. Thanks for being here, Avery. Really appreciate it. I had a good time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Big thanks to Avery for joining us and sharing what it really takes to build a service business with integrity, grit, and results that wow. If you're in Southeast Michigan and need carpet, tile, grout, stone cleaning, look up Refreshing Health Cleaning Solutions. You'll be glad that you did. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget, subscribe, leave a review, share it with someone building their own brand from scratch. Until next time, keep going beyond the mark.